So you're looking for that path to financial freedom, who isn't these days, right?
Yeah.
And you're interested in entrepreneurship, but not just the same old advice.
Right.
Well, get this. Our deep dive today is going to have you looking at boring businesses and even channeling your inner scientist.
That's right. We're unpacking the wisdom of Daniel Priestley,
Okay?
a successful entrepreneur who's built multiple million-dollar businesses. He's got some interesting strategies that might surprise you.
Okay, let's unpack this scientist approach.
Yeah.
I get that planning is important, but sometimes you just need to dive in, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's say you've got a bunch of ideas swirling around, maybe starting a cupcake business, floristry, an AI startup, even a soccer school. How do you pick which one to actually pursue without getting, like, stuck in analysis paralysis?
Yeah, that's where most aspiring entrepreneurs stumble. They get trapped in the planning phase, overthinking every detail. Daniel's approach is about testing ideas rapidly and affordably. He calls it adopting a scientist mindset.
I like where this is going. Less talk, more action.
Absolutely.
So we're talking about those coming soon landing pages everyone's creating.
Exactly. It's about creating a minimum viable product to test the waters. A great example of this is Elon Musk. Before Tesla even had cars rolling off the production line, he was building hype with waiting lists.
Wait, so he was essentially selling a dream before the product even existed.
Precisely. He was validating the demand before investing millions in production. He created that gotta have it feeling by making people feel like they were part of something exclusive.
That's brilliant. By the way, that reminds me of something I did as a teenager. I set up a vending machine business at my high school.
Wow.
I literally just emailed vending machine companies until one gave me a deal.
Nice.
I hadn't even secured the location yet.
Wow, you were already tapping into that scientist mindset without even realizing it? You saw an opportunity, tested it out, and took action.
So is that what Daniel means by having a visionary mindset? Because back then, I just thought I was being a hustler.
It's definitely a part of it. He describes 3 main mindsets: reptile, autopilot, and visionary. Reptile is that primal fear response, fight, flight, or freeze. Autopilot is going through the motions, doing what you've always done. And then there's visionary.
Okay, so visionary is where the magic happens, right?
Exactly. It's about seeing potential where others see obstacles, that unshakable belief that anything is possible. Think about a time in your own life when you felt truly unstoppable.
Oh, yeah.
That's the energy we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's often fueled by a strong sense of purpose.
I can definitely relate to that feeling. It's funny how those experiences shape our approach to challenges.
Absolutely. And when you combine that visionary mindset with the willingness to test and experiment like a scientist, you open yourself up to a whole new world of possibilities.
Okay, so we've got our scientist hats on. We're feeling unstoppable. What's next on our journey to financial freedom?
This is where things get really interesting. Daniel says one of the biggest keys is mastering the ask.
Mastering the ask. Now, that's something I think we can all benefit from, not just entrepreneurs.
Right.
I remember Daniel shared a story about how he secured $10,000 worth of cameras for his startup with a single email. So spill the secrets. How do you make an ask truly irresistible?
He calls it approaching the ask with or without you energy.
Okay.
It's about projecting confidence and making the other person feel like they're part of something that's already happening, something exciting. It's about framing it as an opportunity, not a plea for help.
So it's not about begging or pleading. It's about presenting an opportunity they wouldn't want to miss.
Precisely. It's like you're inviting them to join a movement that's already gaining momentum.
Right.
We see this principle everywhere. Think about Glastonbury tickets.
Oh, yeah?
People practically trip over themselves to get on that waiting list. Or Rolex, how their scarcity model makes you feel like you're earning the privilege to buy a watch.
It's funny you mentioned that because I remember this company I invested in completely revamped their approach to acquiring members. They switched their call to action from become a member to join the waiting list. Sounds like a small tweak, but their conversion rates skyrocketed.
It's all about psychology. People naturally crave what feels exclusive or hard to get. By creating a sense of scarcity and desirability, you dramatically increase the perceived value of what you're offering.
Okay, so we've got our scientist mindset. We're mastering the art of the ask. What else is in Daniel's playbook for building wealth?
Well, this next part might surprise you. He actually suggests that starting from scratch isn't always the best path, especially in today's economy.
Wait, hold on a minute. I thought we were all about testing new ideas, being visionary.
We are, but Daniel's also a huge advocate for the often overlooked strategy of buying out existing businesses.
Really?
particularly those owned by baby boomers looking to retire.
So instead of starting a brand new cupcake business, I should be scouting out the local bakery that's been around for 30 years and give it a fresh start.
You're catching on. These businesses often hold untapped potential. Think about it. You're stepping into an established operation with a customer base, proven systems, and often a lot less risk than starting from the ground up. He calls it one of the biggest opportunities in the world right now.
I can see how that would be appealing, especially for someone who wants to hit the ground running. But paint me a picture. What kind of businesses are we talking about here? Give me an example.
All right, imagine this. A guy named Kit King decides to buy a business from someone ready to retire. It's a signage company, not exactly glamorous, right? But it's profitable. Kit takes over, modernizes some things, injects new energy into the team, and the business takes off. He took something that seemed ordinary and turned it into a huge success.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
But let's be real for a second. What if someone like me or one of our listeners doesn't have a ton of capital just lying around? Can we still leverage this strategy?
Absolutely. That's where vendor financing comes into play.
Okay.
Let's say you found Bill and Sarah's laundromat, they're ready to retire, and you see potential to modernize and grow the business. You could approach them with a solid business plan and offer to pay them over time using the business itself as collateral.
So they get a steady stream of income. The buyer gets a head start with an existing business, and everyone wins. I love it. This is making me think about possibilities I never even considered before.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about something that's really important to me, and I'm sure to our listener too. Work-life balance. Is it really possible to build wealth and have a life outside of work?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And Daniel has some refreshing insights on this.
Okay.
He believes that the key is finding work that fuels you, not drains you. He ties it back to that concept of asset creation.
Right.
If your work isn't contributing to something bigger than yourself, something that generates value even when you're not physically working, it's going to feel like a grind.
Yeah, that resonates with me. It's the difference between being an Uber driver where you're trading time for money directly versus building a business that eventually runs itself.
Yeah.
But for someone stuck in a job that doesn't feel like it's building toward those assets, where do they even begin?
That's such a great question, and one I'm sure a lot of people listening can relate to. While Daniel doesn't offer specific advice on this particular point in this video, he does emphasize surrounding yourself with the right people. People who inspire you, lift you up, and support your growth.
Surrounding yourself with the right people, that's so important. It's like that saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. It reminds me of when I first started this podcast.
Yeah.
Some people just didn't get it, thought it was
Yeah.
a waste of time, that I should be focusing on real work. But then I found this amazing community of listeners, fellow entrepreneurs, and curious minds who were all about learning and exploring new ideas.
Right.
It was a total game changer.
Yeah, that's the power of aligning yourself with the right energy and surrounding yourself with people who not only support your goals, but also challenge you to grow.
Speaking of aligning with the right energy, Daniel also talks about the potential of those so-called boring businesses. What's the deal with that?
He believes there's a goldmine of opportunity in those under-the-radar businesses that baby boomers are ready to hand off.
Okay.
Think laundromats, dry cleaners, manufacturing companies, businesses that might not be flashy but have stood the test of time.
So we're talking about the businesses in our neighborhoods that have been around forever. The ones with the faded signs and the under new management banner that never seems to come down.
Exactly. The ones most people overlook because they don't seem exciting or trendy.
But Daniel's point is they're often cash cows just waiting for the right person to come in with fresh eyes and energy.
That's the key. These businesses often have a solid foundation, established customer bases, proven systems, and the potential for growth. It's about seeing the potential where others just see, well, boringness.
It's like finding a diamond in the rough, polishing it up, and watching it shine.
I like how you think. You don't necessarily have to stick with the boring forever. Daniel gives the example of a friend who bought a signage company.
Yeah.
He modernized it, made it his own, and then used that success as a platform to launch other ventures.
So it can be a stepping stone.
Yeah.
You're building wealth, gaining valuable experience, and maybe even discovering new passions along the way.
Precisely.
Wow. This deep dive has given me a whole new perspective on entrepreneurship.
Great.
It's not just about chasing the next shiny object,
Right.
but about recognizing value where others don't see it and not being afraid to roll up your sleeves and put in the work.
I think that's a great takeaway.
So to recap, What are the key ingredients in Daniel's recipe for wealth creation? It seems like it boils down to adopting a scientist mindset, to test ideas, mastering the art of the ask, and recognizing that hidden potential in existing businesses.
Absolutely. And don't forget the power of vendor financing. It can be a win-win for both the buyer and the seller.
All great points. It's inspiring to know that there are so many paths to financial freedom if you're willing to think outside the box and take action.
I couldn't agree more.
This has been a great discussion as always. It's fascinating to dive deep into these ideas and uncover these golden nuggets of wisdom.
It's been a pleasure.
So for our listener out there, as you navigate your own journey toward financial freedom, remember to keep testing, keep asking, and keep your eyes open for those hidden gems, those boring businesses that could become your next big success. What overlooked opportunity is waiting for you to bring it back to life?